Let's continue to learn how to identify oaks. Last time we learned the namesakes, the two oak groups, the white oak and the red oak. This time we'll continue by learning an additional oak for each group. For the white oak group, we'll learn about the chestnut oak, or Quercus montana. And for the red oak group, we'll learn about the black oak, Quercus velutina. And remember, we'll be learning how to identify these oaks using multiple traits by looking at the bark, the acorn caps, and the leaves. Now, some trees have a really striking trait, one that makes them really easy to identify, and I would say that the bark of a chestnut oak is such a trait. It's just notably chunky and blocky, so much so that as you approach these trees, you can usually identify them as a chestnut oak before even looking up. Now, sometimes the lower bark near the base of the tree can be a bit uncharacteristic, but higher up on the stem, you really start to see the strong geometric quality that makes them such a standout tree. The chestnut oak gets its name from the foliage and how it bears a resemblance to the American chestnut. You'll notice that the margins of the leaf lack bristles, and they are relatively smooth rather than pointy. One of the ways that you can tell that this is in the white oak group. The acorn of a chestnut oak is huge, and the cap of it is bumpy, kind of like a white oak cap. And it kind of makes me think of a gnome's hat. Now, for our red oak group tree today, let's go look at a black oak, Quercus velutina. Now, this tree is a perfect example why you should use multiple traits to identify a tree species. The leaf of a black oak, with its bristle tips and lobes, can look very similar to that of a red oak. But not all black oak leaves look the same. Depending on where the leaf is on the tree and how much light versus shade it gets, you can find great variances in leaf shape on the same tree. So don't solely rely on foliage to identify an oak tree. You gotta look at the other traits to make sure you know what species you're looking at. The bark of a black oak is easily distinguished from that of a red oak. Black oak will have thin, oblong, rectangular bark, very different from Quercus rubra. But my go-to way to distinguish a black oak from a red oak is the acorn cap. Now, if you remember, the red oak cap is a tightly scaled flat cap. It reminds me of what dragon scales might look like. The acorn cap of a black oak is much different. The scales are just looser. I've heard them described as looking like a thatched roof, and I think that's pretty good. But my daughter, she thinks they look like layers of feathers, and I think that's perfect. So as you continue to walk past trees in your life, continue to look at them and notice things about them and see if you can't find yourself a chestnut oak, Quercus montana, or a black oak, Quercus velutina.